Welcome back to Overkill Reviews. This week I'm going to take a look at Holy Grail's brand new album, Times of Pride and Peril. This band was formed in 2008 in Pasadena, California, and this is their third full length on Prosthetic Records. And I never thought I would say I'd be reviewing a power metal album from sunny Southern California, but here goes nothing. The opening track on the record is Crystal King, and right off the bat, we are into some serious power metal here, folks. It's got that familiar kind of gallop that brings us into the album and some very soaring Dio, Blind Guardian, Dragon Force style vocals. And at face value, Crystal King seems to be about battlefields and warfare, but if you take a closer look, perhaps Crystal King is a comment on drug warfare in Southern California, which is kind of indicated in their lyrical video for the song, which has a lot of gang and urban warfare imagery. So, a pretty interesting twist on what at face value seems like typical power metal. It's pretty clear off the bat that Holy Grail wants to create metal that is fun. This is about singing along. This is about that glorious feeling that you get from standing in a festival with tens of thousands of other metalheads singing along. And really, this is pretty rare stuff coming from the Southern United States. So, intriguing start with Crystal King. The second track I want to dig into is Those Who Will Remain. It's pretty clear by now on the record that Holy Grail share a lot of DNA with some other bands from Southern California who are creating this sort of power metal meets old school thrash and also kind of a Swedish melodic death metal sound as well. I'm thinking of White Wizard, Bonded by Blood, and of course, even Municipal Waste from Virginia on the other side of the country. This song in particular by far has the most catchy sort of saccharine chorus that you hear on the record that's definitely going to get the festival masses singing at the top of their lungs this summer when the band is on tour with Black Tusk. One of my favorite parts in the album is on this song where the two guitars come together in sort of Dragon Force fashion and take on sort of a dual lead together and let the bass kind of have its own moment in the background. So a pretty diverse track and probably my favorite track on the record. The last track I want to talk about is Descent into the Maelstrom, and definitely this song by far exhibits the band's best guitar work. Comes right in with a crazy kind of double guitar line, and there's got to be like 4.5 guitar solos in this song. These guys are really showing their talent. Another thing I liked about this song is it's got this halftime riff that supports one of the solos that feels more like a metalcore riff than a power metal song, and yet Holy Grail find a way to make it work within the context of the song and this record. And apart from kind of a Dio-esque, dare I say, na-na-na vocal part later in the song, it's a good track all in all. So overall, Holy Grail's Times of Pride and Peril will be very pleasing to fans of Dragon Force, Skeleton Witch, Cauldron. If you like things on the thrashier end of the power metal spectrum, you're gonna love this album. For me, it gets a little same as the album progresses. The first half is really strong, but by the time you get to the back half, it starts to sound very similar. So personally, I would have loved to have heard more dynamics like on the track Those Who Will Remain, where the band sort of vary their song structures and vary the riffs and the way that they put them together. But admittedly, I find this record as interesting from a sociological perspective as a musical one. Here's a band, half Latino from Southern California, making what is effectively pretty convincing power metal. And this is something you would have never heard 10, 15 years ago with the possible exception of Iced Earth. So it's interesting that US audiences and US musicians seem to be gradually opening up to a more European sound, perhaps the influence of more North Americans traveling to the big festivals and getting exposed to the great European power metal bands like Blind Guardian, Dragon Force, etc. So, very interesting album for that reason. So the verdict, If you like your power metal a little bit heavier than just your conventional power metal, this album is for you. For me, because the album gets weaker creatively as it goes, it's really a solid 1 out of 2 skulls on Overkill Reviews.